Hey guys! It's me, Jade. So I came here 5 years ago. Things have actually changed a little bit since when I first got over here. But in no particular order, these were my top 10 cultural shocks when I first came to Japan.
Dun 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 dun. A Jade abroad.
Number 1, the lack of English ability compared to European countries. So before moving to Japan, I actually lived in Spain and Italy. I had visited other countries in Europe too, and so I just assumed, incorrectly of me, that most countries around the world would have some sort of basic grasp of English so that if I needed help, because I did a lot when I first moved here with pretty much zero Japanese, that people would be able to help me out a little bit. But I was gravely mistaken. This did turn out to be a good thing for me eventually because it forces you to learn Japanese a lot quicker when you can't communicate and make friends with anybody. So yeah, culture shock number 2. Automatic taxi doors. I mean, they magically open for you when you approach the car and they automatically close for you when you get in the car. And on more than one occasion, I had a taxi driver get a little bit angry at me actually because I tried to open the door myself. So yes, magical automatic opening taxi doors. Number 3, magical Japanese toilets and also squat toilets. So in Japan, they have two vastly different types of toilet. The magical toilet that has a built-in bidet and has a bunch of buttons. It has like a control panel on the arm of the toilet. But toilets don't even have arms normally, but in Japan, specific types of special magical toilets exist with arms and buttons, and they have functions such as auto deodorizing. So you push a button and all of a sudden any smell from smelly things that you might be doing in there is removed by this deodorizing button. I don't even know how it works. Maybe there's some sort of wind like suction thing. I don't know. There's also a button that you push and a bidet will pop up and spray water at your bottom. There's another one for ladies in which the water source is directed at your vajayjay, your vagine instead, which is lovely. You can also increase or decrease the power of the spray coming at you. You can also, you also have to press the stop button. I didn't realize this when I first got here. You got to press the stop button. But yeah, magical Japanese toilets. There are also other buttons on there. I'm not entirely sure what all of them do, but those are the ones that I've mainly used. Oh, also with magical Japanese toilets, the seats are heated. Every winter I am very happy to have my buttocks warmed whenever I sit on a toilet. And then opposingly, you've also got squat toilets, which you find in older, more untouched areas of Japan, especially in the Japanese countryside, public parks and stuff. Yeah, you'll find holes in the ground, which you've got to squat over, and they normally smell like urine. 3 guesses why. As a lady, it's quite difficult to aim. But yeah, that was another shock to me. Cultural shock number 4. The lack of bins, actually. There are pretty much no bins here. You can only really find them in some convenience shops, konbini, and on some train station platforms. That's about it. So my next point, number 5, being the fact that Japan is incredibly clean and hygienic, was also more of a shock to me when I realized that there are no bins here. How is Japan so clean and tidy? Well, everybody is programmed from a young age to take their rubbish home with them and put it in the bin at home, and that's what everybody does. No one litters. It's amazing. It's a crazy system. I still don't quite understand how it works, but yeah, no littering, no bins, clean and safe Japan. Cultural shock number 6. There are often no hand dryers or paper towel dispensers in toilets here, and sometimes there's also not soap too, but it differs on the toilet. So sometimes there will be places that are fully stocked with soap and water, and I'm happily washing my hands, and then there'll be no drying equipment, and I'll get really annoyed. But that's completely my fault, because here in Japan, a lot of people, pretty much everybody, carry around these tiny little flannels, these little handkerchiefs, and everybody dries their hands on those all the time. So that's why in toilets in Japan, you might not always find paper towels or hand dryers. 7. The rows and rows of never-ending vending machines. Never-ending vending machine. Say that 5 times. So, one of the things that was really crazy to me is the fact that vending machines are found everywhere. If you're ever in need of a drink in Japan, you're probably going to find one on the street not very far from where you are. And normally it's not just one standalone vending machine, they normally come in groups of 2 or 3, or sometimes even more. You can get a street that's entirely dedicated to vending machines, for example, which was crazy for me at first, but now I'm pretty used to it. Cultural shock number 8. And this was for the first time in my life being a minority and being stared at a lot too, actually. Especially when I go to more rural areas of Japan where there aren't so many foreigners invading the place. I'm often stared at and I'm treated differently, sometimes in a positive way, sometimes in a less positive way, but overall being a minority for the first time in my life was pretty crazy. I don't think before coming to Japan I'd ever been in a room where I was the only white person, for example. So yeah, that's crazy. Okay, cultural shock number 9 is no speaking on trains. Yeah, this really shocked me actually, the fact that no matter how busy a train was in Japan, and even still is now, people are completely silent. If you do have a conversation on a train in Japan, then you should keep your voice down, and pretty much everybody does, except for those drunken rowdy evening trains home, for example, or the first train home in the morning. But even then everybody's absolutely crashed and dying, so yeah, it's pretty silent then too. And if anybody is to speak on a phone, then people will stare at you or tut at you or even ask you to put your phone away, or imply it through death stares. Although actually this recently, very recently, in the past year or so, has been decreasing, and I have seen more and more people using their phones on trains, including the elderly. So, you know, times are changing, but 5 years ago that was definitely a no-go situation. And finally, number 10. When I first moved here, I used to commute to work, and I used to have to walk from my house all the way up to an enormous tunnel. And I would walk through that tunnel all the way to the main station and grab my trains to work every day. And in the morning, there would also be a smeg ton of other people commuting to work, so they would also be walking through this enormous tunnel with me. And no matter how many people were there, and there must have been hundreds, it was always silent. This silent, zombie-like mass of people walking together every morning. And I remember thinking, gosh, how creepy. And another thing on top of that is the fact that pretty much everybody that works in an office in Japan wears a suit. So there was an enormous zombie suit army marching their way through Shinjuku Station every morning. And that was an enormous cultural shock to me, because in the UK, pretty much no one wears suits anymore unless it's for special events or they're like the head teacher at a school or something like that. So yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. These were my top 10 cultural shocks when first coming to Japan. If you have any questions, please leave them down there in the box for me. Please like it if you want, and go ahead and subscribe if you also want to. I would also love to hear anybody else's cultural shocks upon moving to different countries or Japan as well. And yeah, see you next time. Bye guys! Mwah!